with Facebook and we're with YouTube. So we're live. Hey everyone. Glad you're joining us. Hope you're having a good week. We obviously are running crazy here. Let me see here. We're evidently running crazy and just all sorts of weird stuff going on.
We're still having technical difficulties.
I don't know, but it's like repeating on here. Oh, it's on here. I didn't even know I had my phone open. That's hilarious. So what do you guys do when you have issues? Hey, Jack. Glad you could join us.
We're just having all kinds of issues.
We're having all issues today. Like, this has been the freakiest week in the whole wide world. So, like we mentioned before on the live discussions, we are moving to Florida. And right now we're homeless.
Well, we're nomads.
We're nomads. That's a better term.
We have a home. We are presently in a temporary apartment.
Right.
We're staying in until the school year ends.
Right. So, wow. And I'm doing good too.
Our house sold yesterday. And so it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon closing. And we thought our apartment would be ready in the morning. So we had everything packed up. We were ready to take a couple loads to our new apartment. And then we found out we couldn't get in until 3 o'clock. So we had to rush and take a couple loads and dump everything at my mom's house. And then we had to move it yesterday.
So I guess I want to know, what does it look like for you guys when you feel overwhelmed? Like, what does that look like when you're feeling overwhelmed and things are getting to be too much? Because as foster and adoptive families, things often get to be too much. And for us, we start yelling a lot more than we used to. And our bodies give out, we just don't feel good. Like, we don't feel, we start feeling sick. Like, I remember the last move we did, it was so stressful that I was sick for a week straight and I still had to start work. And so it was just, it was insane. Like, I never want to go through that again. I hope we're being smarter with this move. But what does it look like for you when you bring in a new kid into your home? Do you how can you tell that you're getting overwhelmed? Because there's a lot of newness there, right? Like, there's just a lot of things that you have to do. And so there's a lot of newness, a lot of things that you have to get together, and that can be overwhelming and stressful for someone. Like, what are the warning signs? Like, can you tell warning signs for you when you start to get too overwhelmed or stressed?
Yeah, my temper gets short.
Your temper gets short? Like, right now, you've been having, we've been noticing your face getting flushed because you're
Well, that's because
fighting.
I'm sick.
But I think that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of it. So, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. Also, I'd love to hear just what is the weather doing in your area? Like, we've traded in cold weather for cold, wet weather now. And then it's mild during the middle of the day and around the Knoxville area. So, very cool. But let us know if you've never been in on our live Monday Caregiver check-in. The way this works is we are, by the way, I'm Darren Fink. This is Margie Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. We are the co-founders. We do this once a week for an hour just so everyone can get together. We just kind of mediate things so that everyone can talk, share advice, share questions, and just support each other as caregivers. The way this works is Margie and I will start off with a topic, and basically we will kind of just steer discussion with what we want to talk about until you comment or give your input and ask questions or give advice. And then we will talk about what you want to talk about and steer the conversation where you want it to go, because this is your time and we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. But if no one's talking, it's going to be a boring conversation if we just sit here. So we definitely want to talk about what you want to talk about. So yeah, one thing, I know we've talked about this before on here, but what is your favorite stress food? Because that's where we're at right now, is just the stress of moving, and we have 4 kids and just having to do all sorts of different things. What is your favorite stress food? I would love to hear it. I have discovered goldfish crackers. I didn't think that would be my go-to. It was kind of weird. I kind of feel like, is this what it's like to be pregnant? Goldfish crackers are my favorite go-to. So I don't know. Jared on Facebook says that he has a question. He's kind of new. What exactly does transfiguring adoption do for kids and families? Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
Go for it.
So transfiguring adoption, resources, caregivers. One thing that we do, like physical things that we do, are we offer foster care kits. I'm doing bad at this. Foster parent kits. So we work with
on our A game.
we work with certain agencies. So we give these kits to agencies. So when a parent gets newly licensed, they have different things like books, DVDs, different tools to help kids that have come from trauma places. So it's basically things that those of us that work with transfiguring adoption, things that we wanted when we first became foster parents. And so certain agencies get that. We also work with our ELF squad, which is a volunteer mobilization group. They are right now collecting night lights, and those will be given out to agencies for foster parents so that parents can utilize that to give to kids that have been sexually abused, so that the children will trust them a little bit more when they get these night lights, because a lot of times kids have been lied to by other adults and other people. So that just shows them that they are taken care of and they're okay. So other things. A
lot of what we do kind of started with media and using media as a tool to help connect with children and to create healing conversations. So we have book lists on our website. That was kind of how we started, and discussion guides for books. So we have books, and they're all searchable. We have 4 different kinds of books for children, or 5 children's book lists for foster care adoption, interracial and international and transracial. Domestic, private adoption, and then just general kids books that have to deal with trauma or just some of the different life skills or social skills that kids who've been through foster care or adoption might struggle with. So we have those lists on our website, discussion guides. We do it kind of reading rainbow style, where when we get our hands on these books, we review them and create discussion guides. What else do we do?
That's very much. But Jared's asking, what about any people who are trying to actually use you guys for their own gain and not for kids at all? How do you weed them out to prevent that? I guess I don't understand that completely. I mean, we give the physical products and stuff we give to agencies. So that's kind of on the agency, however they want to hand that stuff out, and how, like, they know their parents best. And because of HIPAA laws and everything in the States, we can't know the families unless we personally know them. So that we just have the agencies rely on that. As far as other, I guess, people that are looking for their own personal gain. I mean, we have our volunteer mobilization team, and they report to a volunteer that's head of the national, and that person that's in charge of all of them reports to us. And then we report, obviously, to our 501c3 board that's over us. So, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is accountability there.
And there's not really anything to be gained. There's no money changing hands. There's no anything like that. So,
and there is like stuff too. Like, I will say too that like we are in the process of getting our logo trademarked. So basically, we're at the point where in a few months, basically we're at the point where the federal government has acknowledged that our logo is fine and trademarked. But we have a few months basically where businesses can say, hey, no, that's my logo, which we're completely original. So I'll just end with that too, that if you guys ever see someone misusing our logo or misusing our stuff, in a few months, it should be actually an offense to do that. So
yeah. Okay, so Jared thought we were more like an agency. No, we're not an agency. We are just a resource for caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
And ELF Squad, he said, so ELF Squad just helps with collecting members and products for donation, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're like this.
So I think the most personal gain has been like we had a college student who interned for us, so they got their internship hours or something like that. But this like it just counted their volunteer hours towards.
And to be honest, everyone in Transfiguring Adoption is volunteer staff, and everyone so far, just the way it's turned out, everyone is either in the higher up leadership positions are, hey, thanks for the hearts, you guys, and all the smiles, loving it. So far, everyone's either been a foster parent, an adoptive parent, a professional, or somehow they have like some skin in the game, so they really care about.
We have an adult adoptee who blogs to kind of share her story. We have other adoptees and former foster youth that will come on.
It's people that are really wanting
to share their experiences and help. The goal is to help caregivers understand what's going to help them, what's going to make them be better and help them nurture their
Reese
children
is on
more.
there. Reese stopped by. Hey, Reese. Yeah, go handle your stuff, Reese, and we will talk to you later. Join us next week for sure. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us. But yeah, go. I mean, we can, whatever questions or advice that you guys want to share with us. Definitely, I love those questions. I'm glad that you're asking about those because I think that's a valid question since we are doing this live discussion to figure out why would we sit here and talk with these yahoos. Kristen Segan's on here too.
We are the yahoos.
Yeah, we are the yahoos, not you yahoos. Kristen Segan's on here though, and she is definitely not a yahoo. She is an amazing parent and professional in the industry. So very cool. Glad she's on here. Yeah, so let us, again, just for people that are joining in, let us know what your questions are. Let us know what your advice are that you might have for other caregivers on here. And to be honest, some people that are joining us are people that don't foster or adopt. They just want to help caregivers, and they're just trying to figure out like what foster and adoptive parents are coming up against. So definitely give us your questions as we keep talking. But going back, so yeah, stress food. What is your favorite stress food? Like, I would love to hear it. Like, again, like mine, I think has become the goldfish crackers. Like, I never saw that coming. It's just not what people do. Like, it's normally like some sort of chocolate or it's, I don't know. But goldfish crackers, they're good. What's yours? Today, I don't know. I'm just hungry today. You're just hungry today? But we've been noticing.
Stressed and hungry. I think yesterday when we were running around just before our house closing, we went to an Asian buffet and I got sushi and sushi is a good one for me.
It is a good one. And I will say that I like the Chinese buffet thing too. That is really, really good. So one thing that I was curious about is because we are foster and adoptive parents and a lot of people are coming in the same situation in here. What do you do for, a lot of people have to get creative as far as their jobs. Like that's one thing that we're having to look as we're getting ready to move from Tennessee to Florida. We're having to look at our job situation and make sure that it'll work with our kids and make sure that our kids can still make it to appointments, make sure that our kids still have the resources, make sure we have the resources that we need so that we don't have 4 kiddos that are drowning us and not letting us be us. We need a break.
Or that they're drowning and we're not getting them what they need.
Exactly. So what do you guys do? How do you work out the work situation? What did Jared said, I've been thinking about joining Knoxville Elf Squad officially. Do I need to buy a kit? Okay, so I'm skimming this. So here's the thing, like, so I'll go back for so Jared is asking about our Elf Squad. And if you guys don't know about the Elf Squad, it's a really cool group actually. And I'll just give you a brief rundown on it. And the reason they're asking there's so many questions coming up about it is because it's been given a new push this year. Mm-hmm. Like, so when Margie and I and some other professionals would go around talking with parents and try to do different things, we were mostly focusing on parents because that's where we were at. We were the parents. We wanted other parents to get help. And so we had a lot of people, though, that came up to us and they wanted to start helping. And we weren't sure really quite how to utilize people to help us. So out of that, some volunteers birthed this thing called the Elf Squad, which their little tagline is, I believe it's caregiver support, protecting children, supporting caregivers. And that's what they do. They support caregivers and they protect kids. And they do that through different projects, through Transfiguring Adoption. And what up until this year, Elf Squad has been an online Facebook group, and it's been all digital, and they've done everything and talked with each other and stuff like that digitally. But a lot of people have been coming up to us at conventions or when we're out and about. They're telling us, hey, we don't want this. Like, we don't want it to be digital. We want to actually sit down with people in a social group setting. Like, we want to actually meet with people and know people and have fun. And like, if we're going to do something like a nightlight drive, we want to take it to the agency and we want to see them smiling and having fun. And
basically it's a way of multiplying our efforts because, you know, we're in specific locations, but if these elf squads are developing throughout the country, then people can do local drives and donate to their local agencies. So what's happening is we're getting these elf squads joint kind of throughout the country. There's some people who are interviewing to be heads of the local squads. And so that local squad will get together and then we kind of educate on needs of foster and adoptive parents. And it's part social club, part social justice.
Social justice, yeah.
So the way the kits are working is when people join an elf squad and they buy the kit, that helps get resources to that local elf squad. So they can have some brochures, so they can do info tables and get connected to the agencies that are local to them. And we do a lot of that, pairing them with agencies. We find an agency who's wanting donation, who's wanting support for their caregivers. And we kind of link those local volunteers with their local agencies.
So yeah, but I think what was being asked was, do you have to buy a kit to actually be in it? No, you can actually join, like, you can actually join up with your squad, local squad, and you can use it. It's a social club. Like we said, half social club, half social justice. So you can join up with it and just hang out with people and have a lot of fun.
And you can volunteer your time and your services.
Yep, finish that thought.
Okay, sorry, I'm distracted.
You can volunteer your services and all that. What happens when you buy the kit is you're actually taking it to the next level. So you've actually got skin in the game, and it's not just a fun social club anymore. You're actually doing something. You're supporting. You're actually getting projects done for, like, it's really where the rubber meets the road. And then also we're going to be hooked up with you via email, and we can offer you, like, when we come out with new merchandise and stuff, we come out with new different things. We're actually working with, hopefully we're in talks with a couple celebrities. So like, if something, last year there was a famous British artist that did a print for our Elf Squad members and stuff like that as a thank you for them doing things and stuff like that. So it's really, you take things to the next level with the kit. But we understand there's many issues and you don't have to have that. Nicole on Facebook is asking, when I was
she's answering your question.
Oh, she's answering my question about work. So when I was fostering, I didn't work, but I do now as a trainer that we.
No, I do know as a trainer. She does training.
Oh, okay. Well, you read it because I'm actually being bad at reading.
But I do know as a trainer that what do we do when we? Sorry. I'm not.
What do we do when we work is a top question. Our answer is to get as many meetings and appointments as we can, but the workers can help also and take advantage of calling in on meetings.
Yeah, so I know I've done work with foster and adoptive parents and a lot of like kinship parents who end up getting relative children and then they're struggling because they do have all those appointments. And they're trying to make sure that they can get to them. It can be rather challenging to have an out-of-home job and still be able to meet all those requirements of weekly therapies and stuff like that. So like Nicole is saying, workers can help, but it can also become an issue if you've got a family and they're not able to kind of meet some of those requirements of, you know, when kids have a permanency plan, what's that long range goal for the children, you know, and some of that might be weekly therapies, weekly this, weekly that, weekly visits. And it can be really hard to juggle.
Well, and I mean, to make it personal too, like we didn't have probably the support we needed when we started, and you actually quit your job because we couldn't keep up with all the doctor's appointments and therapies and different, and you had to quit your outside job. So we went to an income of 2 people down to an income of 1. And to be honest, you were actually probably pulling in the bigger paycheck too. So I mean, there was a sacrifice that was made, and it's just kind of unfortunate while you're trying to give children a better life and trying to take them through things. I mean, you need money to do some of that, like some of the stuff. So to make things better for them, and it's a real thing that, you know, it affects your work life, and then you have to figure out things because economically you're going down to less. Plus, you're getting more kids in the house, so. It's really, that's why I was kind of asking about the work situation, because I know it is a stressor for parents. Thanks for answering that, Nicole. I actually work right now. I do online teaching ESL. Like Margie just happened to see someone talking about it on Facebook. So part-time, I teach ESL, English as a Second Language, to children in China.
Mostly hours when our children are asleep.
So it actually works out very nice because while our kids are asleep, then I'm teaching, and then when they need to, and then I choose my own hours. So when they need to get up and get ready for school, I can stop teaching for a little bit, get them off to school, get them ready, and then go back to teach for a little while. And then by the time I'm done with the day, again, I can choose my own hours. I can take them to doctor's appointments, therapies, whatever during the day, and kind of move my own day around and take a nap as I need to or whatever, because I have to get up so early. So that's one thing that I've done is there are jobs out there like that are online jobs. I wonder if has anyone taken up Lyft or Ubering, like while you've been a foster or adoptive parent, to like get like the off hours so that you can make ends meet a little bit better or do things. I would think that would be a good, like while kids are sleeping, while one person do Ubering while, I don't know. That just sounds interesting to me. My friend who fosters in Florida, this is Nicole on Facebook again. My friend who fosters in Florida says that they have what's called FT care, which does transportation for the foster kids whose foster parents work and can't transport. Huh, that's interesting. I would love to know more about that, actually. Oh, and Jared's going back to comfort foods. So we ask about comfort foods earlier when you get stressed out. Hibachi, cakes, and I think probably popcorn shrimp. I'm with you up until the cake part. I only do icing. But those are awesome.
Jared said, I think Uber would be a good job for that. Yeah, that's kind of like, as we're preparing to do this move, I'm kind of hating it because I had a perfect job here where I was contract, actually doing home study writing, and it was great because I could set my own hours and, you know, make sure he was being able to take care of the kids. Now there are a lot of single parents that are fostering or adopting, and that's when they don't really have kind of that backup person, caregiver. I know I've seen in Knoxville just a great group of just foster parents supporting other foster parents where, you know, if someone has something, they're able to help out. And then
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you have to have that support, otherwise you're going to drown, and your job is like and here's another thing that I wonder about too, is how, if there are other caregivers on here, what do you think about, like, a lot of people tie their career up in who they are. Like when you go somewhere, you say, like, you ask people right away, like, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, who are you? Oh, what do you do for a living? I mean, that's like the first thing that you ask them. And then so you see them as, oh, that's Joe. He's an architect. Like, it's not Joe as a person. That's an architect. That's the architect. Like, or you know, and then you start making judgments and stuff. But anyways, I'm not talking about that. But like but do you know what I mean? Like that can be something that you tie up in your personality. But then when you start to foster, some people might be getting into it because they just want to help out a kid, and then they lose that because they can't keep going on with it, you know? So I'm curious about that. Does anyone ever had problems with that where you couldn't keep up with your job because you've started the foster adoptive process and you just feel like you've gotten hurt that way with your career? Okay, Nicole says to get with Kelly. She can offer a lot of information. Okay, fantastic. I'm excited about that. We're always looking for new resources for fostering. So very cool. Yeah, but I'm just kind of curious about that because that is a big hit if you can't work or if you can't do your dream job. I think with that, like with having children in general, you're going to make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are sacrifices that are going to be made. I think one thing that I know through our foster and adoptive journey, like I've continually like said, we're not giving up who we are. Like we're making sacrifices, but we're not giving up who we are. And so like, I feel like there needs, when is the line, guys? Like when is the line for, I need to sacrifice for these kids because they've had a rough life. They come from trauma. I need to go to therapies. I need to live my life differently because of, they have PTSD or they have food issues, or like, when is the line though that, okay, I am giving up who I am and that's not good? Like, when can you tell that where that line is? Okay. Jared said that he knows the struggle with losing a good job. Oh, he's been out of work for a while. Man, that stinks.
Yeah, government contracts. Yeah, anything where you have kind of contract job and those contracts run out or anything like that. We've been there.
Yeah. Well, even in the state of Illinois, I would say for caregivers too, it's been a real thing too. Like going back to foster adoptive parents, like because the state government hasn't been doing well with its funding, like it's been a real thing with just at some points wondering, okay, are we going to get like our subsidy money to take care of the kids? Because we didn't know if the state could actually pay the checks. So.
Well, I know there was a lot of early intervention therapists who were leaving the state because they weren't getting paid. They were like, the state was months and months and months behind paying like master's and doctorate level therapists that were providing some of those early therapies like speech therapy and behavioral therapy and occupational and physical, all that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So I like that though, Jared. I'm going back to his whole stress food thing. I like that. I'm thinking hibachi sounds great right now. Like I would love some hibachi grill. Some hibachi grill or some more Chinese. I would love it. But no, so yeah, like I would love to hear what other people do for work and for jobs to make ends meet or to supplement income. Because I know I've actually heard a lot of foster and adoptive parents, like especially stereotypically, it's the wife that the husband's going off or whoever, one person's going off to work. And then I get a lot of people that are like, asking about different jobs because they're trying to supplement income because they've had to quit work to take care of kids at home, or their kids have severe issues like severe autism, or there are just some safety issues, like some safety plan things into place.
Hibachi for life. So Dusty says, I train and license foster parents and I am a foster parent. I've seen a lot of that. Like I was doing, well, in Tennessee, it's not licensing. They I know, I'm so mad, so upset that I'm leaving my film mama friends. We'll come back though. We will be back and around.
Finish your thought on Dusty.
Okay, so yeah, I know a lot of my friends who, once you've started fostering, are doing training or licensing because those hours tend to be evening hours or weekends or more flexible. So.
And I think too, like at some point too, you get to like, you're in the system and you understand things. And so you just want to help the system out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to get in there and you want to do some good. So I think it's a good thing. Like that's really neat, Dusty. Yeah, I would think, like, I'm trying to think, I'm curious if other people, because I'm telling you, like a lot of people do ask me like, what do you do? Or when they find out that I do the teaching thing, they're like, oh, how does that work? Because they're like, because they have a kid that's autistic or a kid that's a safety concern and has to be watched all the time. And so they can do that while that child's asleep and still make some money. But I think that's the rough thing too. I think that there are some kiddos that you don't necessarily realize have safety concerns when you do fostering, and you think you're just going to help a kid out, and then all of a sudden you're realizing, oh, I got to sleep with one eye open, or I always have to supervise this child, and that just changes the game a little bit. It's at no one's fault, but it's just something you didn't realize, and all of a sudden you've got to come up with money quick because you had to quit your job to take care of this kid. So.
Dusty says, I think having friends and family and colleagues support what I do helps. Work with high-level teens in my home.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That is very cool. Yeah, and it's got to be, like, again, like with the off hours and stuff with fostering and stuff like that, that would help a lot. But, I mean, if I think having a good career, too, solves not just a financial need, which, obviously, if you're working with high-level teens, it's nice to have some income so that you can pay for services or different things so that you can get away or just help them through things. But I think having a job helps you to be proud.
Well, it helps you have an identity outside of
just
being a foster parent or adoptive parent. Dusty said, we only take kids who self-harm. Wow. And so that's you're on a very high level of alertness. You're when you have children who could self-harm, you start having, that's that 24/7 line of sight supervision all the time. It gives you a break. Yeah, having a job gives you. I've found that I've needed that at times. There were times when, like Darren said, when we first started doing foster care, and I ended up having to quit my job. And after a while, I found myself feeling like we kind of got to the point where everybody was at least in preschool or school at some point. And I needed that that time away from the house, time to speak with other adults. And
well, and I think even if like you're talking with other families and different things like that, it's different because your family can hurt you the most because they know you're going to be there for them. And so, but other families, you're kind of on a behavior, like best behavior. And like, it's easier to find like when you're dealing with something like with foster care and stuff like that, it's easier to go in and see the situation for what it is, where when you're up close to it, it's hard to see what's going on and what the issues are. So I don't know. Yeah, I could see that.
Dusty said one of the things that helps is reaching out and asking for help. So many people are afraid to say, I need help. I'm also starting trauma-informed specialized babysitting here in Kentucky, so that would help. That's awesome.
Dusty, I want to know, awesome. Please email me more information about that at Darren@transfiguringadoption.com. That's DARREN at transfiguringadoption.com, because I've always had a dream that when we started Transfiguring Adoption, we needed babysitting so bad because we moved from Illinois to Tennessee. Didn't know a lot of people with trauma, and we couldn't find that, and we frankly had a lot of people tell us they wouldn't watch our kids when we told them all the trauma issues, but they have those websites like babysitting.com and stuff like that have become really reputable and easy to use, but they're not trauma informed. I've always had a dream to work with some of those people and get people trauma informed so foster parents can go on there and pick out trauma informed babysitters. That might even be out there. I just don't know because our kids are older now, and we've met so many people in town that we're past that level now. I would love to know more about that.
Just piloting it this summer, better than respite, so kids can stay in the home.
Yes, I think that's great. Yeah, definitely give me information about that because I'd like to know more about it. And if it's successful, I'd love to talk about how do you replicate that to other states.
But one of the things Dusty said just a second ago was, she said it's really not out there. She said so many people are afraid to say I need help. And I think that's where, as foster and adoptive parents, when we don't reach out for help, that's where we can quickly get in over our heads.
Hey, Abby. Hey, April.
To the point that then we really start struggling, and then disruptions happen and stuff because sometimes we don't even know what we need.
Right.
But being able to say, I need help is huge. I smell dinner. Let me go.
Well, one thing that, to tie it all together too, I think one thing where Jared was talking a lot and asking questions because he was interested in joining our ELF squad, I think that's one thing that we have envisioned for our ELF squad, which is our volunteer mobilization, is as they start, that typically they're people that aren't fostering, they're not adopting, they're not even at a stage in their life where they want children, but there are people that want to form a local squad to support caregivers, to support foster parents. And they just, it's kind of a point where we're trying to educate them as the public. Like, this is like what you guys are talking about here helps so much, because people like Jared that are coming in here can hear what you guys are saying and understand what's going on and the needs, and then take it back to his local volunteer group. And then they're working with an agency, so they can actually do things with parents. So that parents, when they get so bogged down and need that help, they can just reach out to an ELF squad, and that ELF squad can help out with something. I'm missing a couple comments here. So Dusty says it's geared towards people who can't foster, whether because of room or schedules. So people who can't foster, this is a way others can help. Oh, cool deal. So people can help out with that. Okay, and Abby said, what do you think about using care.com? I found a potential sitter for our littles. She has extensive experience with special needs kiddos. I've never used care.com. Has Dusty...
We did start interviewing a couple of folks from care.com. And if they have special needs experience, that's great.
Yeah, Dusty was just saying, make sure that they have access to trauma-informed care training.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the difference where, because there are some things that work with children with special needs that don't work with trauma. So, you know, like people who are trained in ABA therapy for autism, a lot of times that's not effective with children who've come from trauma. Even there's a lot of overlap of like symptoms and behaviors. Some of the just
yeah, I would like, what would you ask someone when you're interviewing them? How do you have, like, if they say I have a lot of experience with special needs children, would you say, like, stop them, say, okay, that's great, but do you have experience with do you have experience with trauma behaviors?
Well, and
or what? How would you phrase that?
Asking if they're familiar with trauma informed care.
Abby says, we have 2 bio teens, and adopting 2 kiddos with a history of early childhood has really changed what our family looks like. Yeah, I can, yeah.
Yeah, and she said, I wish there was a way to video my TIC training to offer to others who don't have access. Huh?
That was Dusty. I was talking about Abby.
Okay.
I was talking about Abby, and you said, yeah, she said about the training video. And I'm like, no, those are 2 different people.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so Abby said we have 2 bio teens, and adopting 2 kiddos with a history of early childhood has really changed what our family looks like. Yeah, the whole process is going to change how your family looks like. And I don't know. I'm not sure anyone... I think that's why, as foster and adoptive parents, I feel like we're in a club, and as soon as you meet another foster adoptive parent, you click, because they get it. They understand certain things that other people will never understand, even though they say they might understand it, and you can help them to understand it until they've lived. It's kind of like someone coming back from war. Until you've really been to war, we can try to empathize with them, but we never will. Like,
well, we can empathize, but we can't truly understand.
We can't truly understand.
Woohoo club!
Woohoo club! We should do T-shirts. I keep waiting for these funny phrases or something on this, and I'm going to totally make T-shirts. Okay, so Dusty said, yeah, Abby, she said, definitely just ask if they have experience with trauma. It is hard to find a reliable sitter. I will say that when our kids were smaller, that was probably one of the things with our self-care that we missed out on, was just that we couldn't find a sitter. And I'm telling you, we've actually had people that have actually would stop us and say, when they found out we had 4, they would say no because it was too many, and they just freaked out that it was 4 kids, or they were fine with 4 kids, but then when they found out, that such and such, like, no girls in the boys' rooms, or vice versa, like there's no sharing blankets on the couches, there's no this. When they found out different things with the trauma behaviors, they were like, yeah, maybe I'm good. Like,
I'm washing my hair that day.
I'm washing. One thing that we had a hard time, just because we didn't know as many people when we moved to the area, it was suggested to us that I think sounds like a good idea. You can make it work, is to split your kids up, and see if you can find some people that would be willing to watch like just a couple kids.
But like Dusty said, having trauma-informed care so that the kids aren't bouncing around or they're not being separated is really ideal.
Right. It is hard to ask for help. I think you just have to, I think the hardest part for me is that I just don't know where to go all the time. I don't know even where to start. And if I'm in the middle of a mess, I'm kind of like the plate spinners that put the plates on the poles and they just keep spinning and more and more and more. And I can't stop spinning the plates, otherwise it's all going to fall apart. So I can't go looking for help because everything's going to fall apart as soon as I go looking. So that's why, again, like when I'm talking about our volunteer mobilization, my vision for it is that people will just be able to go to their, like a local one in their town, and voila, they can get some help or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is really rough.
Yeah, there's support groups on Facebook and churches all over the country. Yeah, and I find like in Knoxville, we have a great community. I will say, coming from a very rural area in Southern Illinois where there weren't a lot of resources, there was not a lot of support. We actually created support groups. I wish you had an ELF squad in Kentucky. I would run all their background checks and train them for free. Yeah. We have an event, I think, coming up in Kentucky.
I was going to say, we have an event coming up in Kentucky. So again, email me, and we are not, okay, so for our ELF squad group, they just started this local squad thing a month ago. They were supposed to start it in January, but you know how things go. And we're all volunteer. Like this, no one in Transfiguring It Out. We're the co-founders and we don't get paid. It's all volunteer based. So they just started last week. And what happens is we have a gal that's a professional in the industry. She oversees things nationally, and she gets on Google Hangout. It's like Skype. She gets online with them and has a meeting once a month and talks with all these people trying to lead these squads. And right now they're
so she runs the event we're slated to come to. That's how we're actually when we go to events, that's kind of how we're actually
club.
That's kind of been how the ELF squads are starting. So like we just not this past weekend, the week before, we're in Texas, and so we met a lot of folks who were saying, hey, I want to get involved. And so then from those meetings is where a lot of the ELF squads are developing.
Dusty, I think I would ask someone in your agency. I missed if you were a foster parent or an adoptive parent. Foster. Ask someone in your agency if there are support groups. And the other thing that might make you feel comfortable with too is if it's not a support group run by an agency. That's for you. I think we feel with all of our workers, but I know in some states people don't feel comfortable if it's an agency. They feel like Big Brother's watching too much. So, but just find out if there's a support group, because those are the people that they know what you're going through, and it's fine to ask them for help, or ask somewhere to go for help, because they really know, like, and they're not gonna judge you, and they're going to understand you, and yeah, you're not gonna feel like you're not able to tackle something. Like, they're gonna get it and say, yeah, you really need to ask for help for this. And they're gonna encourage you. So, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, any disruption I think is traumatic. We just had our first disruption.
Yeah, it wasn't an adoption disruption.
It wasn't. It was a foster.
It was a foster disruption, but it was traumatic.
And obviously all disruptions are a long story, but we were supposed to be temporary placement anyways, so it went longer than it probably should have, and it was traumatic. So, yeah. Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I see that happening a lot. As adoptions come closer, you see a lot of things just kind of blow up with just behaviors and stuff.
It's true. Well, you guys, we are approaching the end of our time. Please, I encourage you, if you're watching this live or if you're not watching this live, please leave a comment below about what you would like to talk about next week. Any questions or advice you have from the whole kit and caboodle. And also, please tell other people to join in with us because we have better conversations when more people join in. We're always, this week is our only different week. We're here on a Tuesday, but usually we're here on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're always on YouTube and we're always on Facebook Live.
Occasionally Twitter and Instagram.
But we're reliable on Facebook and YouTube. So definitely check us out Mondays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope everyone joins us next week. Please tell your friends, tag them in this and let them know about it. If you haven't been told, you're doing an amazing job fostering in your adoption journey. You don't hear that enough. You really might be hard on yourself today, but you're doing more good than you know you are. Believe me, I'm with you. I know you are doing more good than what you think you are. So thank you, thank you, thank you for giving your time and energy. And for all the professionals and those that are here to support people, I know Jared was in here. I don't think he's here anymore, but thank you for coming and wanting to support caregivers. There aren't enough people like you in the world. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening. Join us next week, Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Darren Fink, and this is Margie Fink, and we're Transfiguring Adoption. We hope we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family. Right. Thank you, Facebook. And I'm signing out. You